Stories number 1. My friend demanded I pay thousands after my baby broke her sunglasses and iPhone. I never thought I'd end up in a situation where my 6-month-old son was at the center of a full-blown friendship-ending fight. But here we are. For context, I'm Emily 28F. My husband, Mark 32M. And I had our son Noah 6 months ago. Noah is in that grabby stage. Everything he can get his little hands on, he'll grab hair, necklaces, glasses, phones, you name it. We've been working on redirecting, but at 6 months, it's instinctive. Now, I always warn people if someone wants to hold him, the first words out of my mouth are usually, "Hey, just so you know, he'll try to grab your glasses or phone best to take them off or keep them out of reach." Most people laugh, nod, and adjust accordingly. The problem came up when my friend Jean 33F came over. John and I have been friends since college, though we've drifted a bit. She's very polished designer clothes, expensive accessories, latest tech. I'm more practical. Target, secondhand, whatever gets the job done. We've always joked about our different spending habits, but she's never hidden the fact that she loves her luxury items. When Jean arrived, she immediately asked if she could hold Noah. Of course I said yes, but I gave her my standard warning. "Careful, he'll grab at your glasses or phone, might want to take them off." Jean rolled her eyes. Literally. "Emily, you're always so overprotective. He's just a baby, I'm fine," I repeated myself, because I've been through this before. Seriously, he will grab best to put the sunglasses down, but Jean just waved me off. She had her Gucci sunglasses perched on top of her head. The same ones she once bragged to me cost over $1,000. She also had the latest iPhone 16 Pro Max, which, side note, costs more than my rent, sure enough. The second she picked him up, Noah's little hands shot straight for the shiny sunglasses. He yanked them right off her head, giggling like it was the best game in the world. Before I could intervene, he flailed his arms in excitement and the sunglasses went flying across the room. Jean shrieked so loud it startled Noah, who then panicked and smacked her phone straight out of her hand. The phone hit the hardwood floor with that sickening crack. Jean "Lost it," she yelled. "Are you kidding me? Do you know how much these cost? You need to pay for this, Emily." I quickly took Noah back, who was now screaming from all the commotion, and tried to calm him down. Mark, my husband, came into the room to see what was going on. Jean held up her cracked iPhone screen and her bent sunglasses like they were evidence in a trial. "This is thousands of dollars worth of damage. You need to buy me a new phone and sunglasses." I was floored. "Jean, I warned you. Twice I told you to take your sunglasses off and keep your phone away from him. You ignored me. I can't, and won't, pay for this." She looked at me like I'd just slapped her. "So you're saying it's my fault your kid destroyed my stuff?" Mark stepped in calmly and said, "She warned you multiple times. You chose to ignore it. That's not on us." Jean wasn't having it. She demanded I either replace her iPhone and sunglasses or give her cash, nearly $3,000 in total. For context, I'm on maternity leave and not making much right now. That's literally more than I make in a month. I told her flat out, no, my priority was my son, who was sobbing from being scared. She called me heartless and selfish, grabbed her broken things, and stormed out. Now, she's been blowing up my phone with texts about how I owe her because my child broke her things. She's also posted vague rants on Instagram about people not taking responsibility when their kids ruin expensive property. Some of our mutual friends are divided. A few agree with me. I warned her. She ignored it. That's on her. Others think I should do the right thing and at least offer to cover part of the damages. But here's the thing. I genuinely don't feel responsible. She had every chance to avoid this. And more importantly, my son is 6 months old. He doesn't understand boundaries yet. That's why I warned her. So am I wrong here? Update 1. The group chat explosion. Well, things got messy fast. Jean added me, Mark, and a few of our mutual friends into a group chat. She sent photos of her broken sunglasses and cracked phone screen, with the caption, "This is what happens when irresponsible parents let their kid destroy other people's property. Still waiting for Emily to make this right." Mark immediately replied, "Jean, that's not fair. Emily warned you twice. You ignored her. That's not on us." Jean shot back, "So you're telling me if your kid breaks something, you don't pay for it?" What lesson does that teach him? That he can just destroy things, and mommy and daddy won't be accountable? That pissed me off. Noah is 6 months old. He doesn't even understand the concept of ownership, let alone consequences. I wrote, Jean, don't drag my son into this like he's some delinquent teenager. He's a baby, I warned you. This is on you. The group chat blew up. 2 of our friends, Rachel and Mike, sided with me. Rachel said, honestly, Jean, if I was holding a baby and the mom told me to move my expensive stuff out of reach, I'd listen. You chose not to. But another friend, Jason, took Jean's side, saying, accidents happen, but usually people offer to help cover it. That's just basic decency. Jean screenshotted his message with a bunch of heart emojis, like she had proof she was right. At this point, I muted the chat. It's exhausting, and I'm already dealing with sleep deprivation and postpartum stress. The last thing I need is a fight over luxury sunglasses and a phone. I warned her about. Update 2. The fallout. So, John and I are officially not friends anymore. She showed up at my parents' house. We were visiting that weekend to talk, except it wasn't a talk. It was her demanding money again, this time in front of my family. My mom shut her down. Immediately, Mom. Jean, she warned you, you chose not to listen. This is not Emily's responsibility. Please leave. Jean tried to argue, but my dad stepped in and told her to go. She stormed out, calling me selfish one last time. Since then, she's blocked me on social media except for one last post that was clearly about me. Some people's kids ruin everything, literally. Honestly, I feel relief. She showed her true colors. A real friend wouldn't demand thousands from a new mom, especially after ignoring warnings, Mark, and I talked it over and decided we're done with her. Noah's well-being comes first, and if someone can't respect that, they don't need to be in our lives. Final thoughts. This whole ordeal made me realize something. Boundaries matter. I tried to protect my friend's things and my baby. She dismissed me because she thought I was being overprotective. And when the inevitable happened, she tried to pin it on me. I don't regret standing my ground. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I just said no. And honestly, losing a friend like Jean is no loss at all. So yeah, my baby may have broken some sunglasses and a phone, but Jean broke the friendship herself. Final update. When a baby breaks a friendship, well, it's been a few weeks since my original post, and things have finally settled down, though not in the way I expected. After my last update, Jean and I had already drifted into ex-friend territory. She'd blocked me online, she'd shown up at my parents' house to demand money, and she'd made it clear that she valued her sunglasses and iPhone more than our friendship. I honestly thought that was the end of it. Turns out, Jean wasn't done. The invoice. About a week after she stormed out of my parents' place, I got an email. Not a text, not a call. An email attached was what looked like an invoice. She had typed up a formal-looking document demanding $2,875 for damages caused by minor child. It listed Gucci sunglasses, 1,050 iPhone 16 Pro Max, replacement, $1,825 emotional distress, $0 she wrote priceless in parentheses, which, okay? At the bottom it said, payment due within 14 days. Failure to comply will result in small claims court filing. I laughed out loud like full-on belly laugh. I showed it to my husband, Mark, who also laughed, and then said, well, looks like Jean's really lost it. We didn't respond the group chat part 2. But of course, Jean couldn't leave it there. She went back into the group chat, which I had muted but not left, and wrote, since Emily refuses to do the right thing, I'll be filing in small claims court. If anyone thinks I'm being unreasonable, imagine, if your kid broke your stuff, wouldn't you expect the parents to pay? Rachel, bless her, immediately jumped in with, no, John, because if I ignored a warning not to let the baby near my stuff, that would be on me. You're embarrassing yourself. Mike chimed in. Also, LOL, at small claims court judge is gonna love hearing how you ignored the mom's warning and then handed your Gucci sunglasses to a literal infant. Jason, who had been kind of on Jean's side before, finally backed down too. He said, Jean, I get that you're upset, but this is going too far, just drop it. Jean left the group chat after that. Small claims? Spoiler, she never filed shocking. I know I did look into it though, just in case my aunt is a paralegal. And she told me point blank, "There's no way a judge rules against you here. You warned her twice, she chose to ignore it. That's negligence. On her part, not yours." So yeah, Jean's invoice was just a bluff. The aftermath. Jean has pretty much nuked every mutual friendship she had. She unfollowed half our group, blocked me, Mark, and Rachel, and has been posting weird cryptic Instagram stories about how some people are too broke to afford decency, and luxury isn't for everyone. Meanwhile, the rest of us have been closer than ever. Rachel came by last weekend with her kids, and guess what? She took off her glasses and put her phone down before holding Noah. Imagine that, no disasters, no broken property, just a happy baby getting cuddles. Even my parents are still shaking their heads at the whole ordeal. My mom said, if Jean can't handle a baby's grabby hands, she definitely isn't ready for the real world. Which, accurate reflection, at first, I felt guilty. Like maybe I should have offered something just to keep the peace. But honestly, no, John valued her things more than common sense. And when the predictable happened, she tried to pin it on me. That's not friendship. That's manipulation. This whole thing showed me who my real friends are. The ones who understand that life with kids is messy, unpredictable, and sometimes things get broken. And who also understand that a warning is there for a reason. Jean made her choice when she ignored me. She made her second choice when she demanded money. And she made her final choice when she tried to humiliate me in front of friends and family. I didn't lose a friend. I lost someone who never respected me in the first place. So yeah, that's the end of the saga. No court, no check written, no Gucci sunglasses replaced. Just me, my husband, our sweet and very grabby baby boy, and a much smaller, but much stronger, circle of friends. And honestly, I'm fine with that. Stories number 2. Ada for how I talked to my daughter about bullying. So I 34F have been married to John 36M for about 12 years, and I have never seen him flip out about this like something before. We have a daughter, Fiona 14F, and a son, Will 10M. During lockdown, John has been working 12-hour shifts as an essential worker. A few days ago, I got a message from one of the girls at Fiona's school's mother. She let me know about her daughter being bullied by Fiona and her group of friends, and sent screenshots of what they've been doing to her. I was devastated. To say the least, I was bullied relentlessly as a teenager, and Fiona and I are very close, so it just came as a huge surprise. I messaged the mom back apologizing, thanking her for telling me, and saying I'd speak to Fiona. This was not long after. John had left for work, so I decided to tackle it immediately rather than wait until when he got home. I called Fiona in, showed her the message and screenshots, and she went instantly on the defensive, complaining that they didn't want to be friends with her, and that she was weird and deserved it. She kept shrugging it off, so I decided a different approach. I told Fiona about how the bullying I experienced when I was younger affected me, how it pushed me to some horrible places and to do some terrible things, and the depression I lived with for a very long time. After I'd finished talking, Fiona said to me, "Whatever," and stomped off. But then a couple of hours later she came back to me sobbing and apologizing. We talked some more. She let me know how she'd also been struggling with mental health and didn't know how to handle it. After a couple of hours, we had both cried a lot, but I let her know she was still going to be punished, which she understood and accepted. When my husband got home that night, I filled him in on everything that had happened, and he absolutely lost it at me out of nowhere. He couldn't believe that I had shared my struggles to Fiona, and that I had tried to manipulate her by using my feelings into controlling her. He told me that I should have just punished her and told the school and let them handle it, and that she was just a kid and didn't need to be guilt-tripped. He said that I had traumatized her. Before I could get a word in otherwise, he stomped out to the living room, where he has been staying in for the past 3 days. Fiona and I have been really connecting since our talk, but John still is not speaking to me. Except for in front of the kids, I genuinely don't feel like I did anything wrong. It's not like Fiona doesn't understand mental health, but John's reaction makes me feel like maybe I've been a huge asshole, and I could have somehow damaged my daughter forever. So Ada, TLDR, found out my daughter was bullying a girl. Punished her and informed her of my bullying story. Husband thinks I've traumatized her for life. Eta, edit. Thanks everyone for your input. I plan to sit John down tomorrow, show him your comments, and discuss what made him react this way. Hopefully I'll have a good update within the next couple of days. The update: hey everyone, I have an update. Can't make a new post since it's only been a few days. I'll put it in the body of the post too. Thank you so much for all your advice. I was really starting to doubt myself because of John's reaction. At first I thought he was being ridiculous, but as the days of silence carried on, I began to get more and more worried. I definitely agree that I should have waited until John got home to discuss the issue. Looking back, I don't think it was fair that I approached Fiona without speaking to John at all, but at the time I just wanted to take the bull by the horns and get it over with. Anyway, the update: so last night, the moment John got home, I demanded that we needed to talk, and I was not going to take the silent treatment anymore. I guess he could tell I was dead serious because he huffed, but he sat down with me at the table. I explained to him that I made this Reddit post and he read through all the comments, and then he got really quiet. A lot of you in the comments suspected that something had happened in John's past, and you were completely correct. John admitted that he too had been a bully when he was younger. To the point where one of the victims moved towns. I'm not excusing his behavior at all, but his parents are horribly abusive. It turns out that when his parents were notified about the bullying, his father encouraged him to take it to physical violence, and that he was finally a man. He said that it was the only time he ever felt loved by his dad. Hearing the way I described my experience to Fiona brought up a lot of repressed guilt and sadness in him. And he was lashing out because he couldn't handle the memories it was bringing up for him. He apologized and was grateful for everyone's comments, and that he acknowledges he was being an asshole. We booked in a couple of virtual therapy sessions for him and extended the same to Fiona in case she wanted to speak to someone. I'm confident we'll be able to move on from this and become stronger as a family, and hopefully be more aware of our actions in the future. Thank you all again for your kind words and insight. Stories number 3. My husband and I are fighting over cake smashing at our baby's first birthday. So, my son's first birthday is coming up this Saturday, and what should be a fun, simple party has somehow turned into a surprisingly heated debate between me and my husband. The whole thing is about cake smashing. And no, not the cute kind where you give the baby his own little cake and he gleefully smears frosting all over his cheeks. I love that idea. I'm talking about the tradition where someone, usually a parent, literally pushes the birthday kid's face into the cake. I'll give some context. My husband, Daniel 32M, is Mexican-American. In his family, pushing the birthday person's face into the cake is a tradition. They call it la mordida, and it's basically expected at every birthday party. Even the adults do it. From what I understand, it's supposed to be fun and playful, and the person whose face gets smashed is supposed to take it in good humor. But here's the thing. Daniel himself has admitted that he always hated it as a kid. He said he cried more than once when it happened, and even as a teenager it just made him angry and embarrassed. He told me this years ago, back when we were just dating, so I know I'm not making this up. He hated it, and yet now he's insisting we should do it to our 1-year-old baby. Our son, Oliver, is a sweet little guy, but he's also sensitive. He gets startled easily, loud noises make him cry, even peekaboo sometimes overwhelms him if he's tired. He's only just turning 1, and I cannot for the life of me understand why anyone would think shoving his face into frosting and cake in front of 30 people is a good idea. I tried explaining this to Daniel. I told him, our son might laugh, sure, but he might also cry. It's his day, and he shouldn't be forced into something he might not enjoy. Babies can be overwhelmed really quickly, and a big cake smash could actually ruin the whole vibe of the party. Daniel's counter-argument is basically, it's tradition. His family expects it. He says it would mean a lot to them to see their culture represented at the party, and that it's something everyone does. I asked him, but didn't you hate it yourself? And he said yes, but that's not the point. The point is, it's family tradition, and tradition means something. The kicker is that I overheard him on the phone with his sister last night, talking about buying 2 cakes, one regular cake for guests, and a smaller one for Oliver. He tried to play it off like it was for a smash cake, but I honestly think he's planning to push Oliver's face into it. I told him, flat out. If you do this, I'll be furious. And I need you to tell your family that they're not allowed to do it either. Because if I know his uncles, cousins, whoever, they'll be chanting for it, trying to egg him on. And once one person starts, it's hard to stop the crowd. Daniel rolled his eyes and said I was overreacting. But I know what I saw when he was a kid. And his mom showed me old videos. Little Daniel, crying with cake all over his face while all the adults laughed. And honestly, it broke my heart. I don't want Oliver's first birthday memory, okay? Not his memory, but the photos and videos will show him later to be him sobbing while everyone laughs. The thing is, I also get that this isn't just my decision. Oliver is our son, not just mine. Half of him comes from Daniel and Daniel's family, and maybe it's not fair for me to completely erase a tradition that means something to them. But where do we draw the line? To me, this isn't a harmless tradition. It's literally forcing a baby into something against his will. My mom is on my side 100%. She thinks it's mean-spirited, and told me if Daniel tries anything, she'll step in. But Daniel's mom already made a comment like, "Oh, Oliver's first mordida, we can't wait." So clearly his family is expecting it. I keep going back and forth in my head. Am I being protective and reasonable? Or am I being uptight and controlling? Part of me feels guilty, like, maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of something that's, supposed to be lighthearted. But another part of me keeps picturing Oliver screaming, frosting in his eyes, and me being the one who didn't protect him. And honestly, if Daniel goes through with it despite me saying no, I'm going to feel betrayed, so yeah, that's where we're at. A first birthday that should be simple and sweet. And instead we're locked in this bizarre standoff about whether or not to smash cake in a baby's face update. My husband and I were fighting about cake smashing at our baby's first birthday. Hi again. Reddit, I didn't expect my original post to get the attention it did. But wow. Thank you to everyone who commented, DM'd, and even shared personal stories of their own cultural traditions, or times they stood their ground with family. I read through so many responses, and honestly, they gave me the clarity I needed. So here's what happened this past weekend at Oliver's birthday party. The morning of, I was already stressed because I knew the cake situation was looming. Daniel and I hadn't reached a real compromise. He swore up and down that he wouldn't go against me, but the way he kept mentioning tradition made me nervous. We had a huge guest list, my family, his family, friends, neighbors, and I knew there would be pressure from his side to do the mordida. We had 2 cakes, one larger one for guests, decorated with bright balloons and "Happy Birthday, Oliver" in icing. Then there was a smaller cake just for Oliver, a cute little vanilla cake with pale blue frosting. Daniel said it was a smash cake, which I agreed to because I do think it's adorable when babies get messy with their own cake. But in the back of my mind, I kept worrying that it was actually the cake for the face push fast forward to the party itself. Things were going well. Oliver was in a good mood, thankfully, because he had napped before everyone arrived. He got passed around between grandparents and cousins, and we managed to keep the noise at a reasonable level so he wasn't overstimulated. Then came the big moment. Cake time. We set Oliver in his high chair with the little cake in front of him. Everyone crowded around with their phones out. My heart was pounding because I knew what was coming. And sure enough, almost instantly, Daniel's cousins started chanting, "Mordida! Push his face in the cake! Do it! Tradition!" It got loud really quickly. Oliver froze, wide-eyed, like he didn't understand why 30 people were suddenly shouting. He looked at me, and I swear my mama bear instincts kicked in right then and there. Before I could even open my mouth, Daniel looked at Oliver, then at the crowd, and just snapped. He put his hand up and said, "No, we're not doing that. Not today." The room went quiet, except for one of his uncles who muttered something about ruining tradition. But Daniel didn't budge. He shot them this glare that I'd only seen once before, at our wedding when someone tried to make a joke at my expense. It was clear he wasn't messing around. And then the sweetest thing happened. Instead of having his face shoved, Oliver just poked his little hand into the frosting, giggled, and smeared it on his high chair tray. He fed himself tiny bites. No tears, no screams, no chaos. It was honestly anticlimactic in the best way possible. Meanwhile, Daniel's mom looked disappointed. She kept whispering to her sister and shaking her head. Later, she cornered me in the kitchen and said something like, "I don't know why you're so against this. It's part of who we are," I told her calmly. That I understood. It was tradition. But it wasn't right for Oliver, not now. Not when he's this little. Maybe when he's older and can actually understand what's happening. We can talk about it. She huffed and walked away, but Daniel backed me up completely. He told her that, as Oliver's parents, we get to decide what happens at his parties, not the extended family. After everyone left, Daniel admitted to me that he almost caved. He said hearing his cousins chanting brought him right back to when he was a kid, and how awful it felt to be forced into something he hated. He said he realized in that moment that it wasn't about tradition anymore. It was about not repeating the cycle. That honestly melted me a little. We'd been butting heads so hard over this, but it turns out he just needed to process his own feelings about it. I told him how proud I was that he shut it down, and we actually had a really good heart-to-heart about what traditions we do want to pass on to Oliver, so yeah. The party ended up being sweet, simple, and drama-free, minus a few grumpy relatives. We have adorable photos of Oliver with frosting on his nose, smiling like a goof. And I feel really good about standing my ground. The lesson I'm taking from this? Sometimes tradition isn't a good enough reason to do something, especially if it causes pain or discomfort. And sometimes, as parents, we have to be the ones who say, "Nope, we're doing it differently." Thanks again. Reddit. Oliver had the birthday he deserved. Final update. My husband and I disagreed about cake smashing at our son's birthday. Hi Reddit. This will be my last update. It's been a couple of weeks since Oliver's first birthday, and the dust has settled. I figured I'd give you all one last look at how things played out after the party, so short version. Things are fine between me and Daniel. Better than fine, actually. That conversation we had after the party opened up a bigger dialogue about parenting, boundaries, and traditions. We realized this was the first real test of us putting Oliver's needs ahead of everyone else's expectations. It won't be the last, but we passed as for the extended family. Well, reactions were mixed. Daniel's mom didn't talk to me for about a week, then she called and apologized, sort of. It wasn't a direct, "sorry for pressuring you," more like, "I know you're trying to do what's best for Oliver. Even if I don't always understand it, honestly, I'll take it." That's as close as she comes to admitting she was wrong. His cousins haven't said anything since. A few of them have been joking in the family group chat, sending videos of kids getting cake smashed with captions like, "See what you missed out on." But it's all pretty harmless teasing. Now Daniel just ignores it. On my side of things, my parents told me they were proud of us for sticking to our guns. My mom even said, "When I was your age, I didn't know how to say no to anyone. I'm glad you do." That felt really validating. And Oliver? He's thriving. He's crawling everywhere, babbling non-stop, and has no memory of being the center of a family debate about frosting traditions. All he knows is he got to eat cake, and everyone clapped for him. Looking back, I think the biggest lesson here is that family traditions are only as valuable as the joy they bring. If something makes a child scared, embarrassed, or hurt, then maybe it's time to leave it in the past. Daniel admitted that cake smashing was always something he dreaded as a kid, and he doesn't want that for Oliver. That, to me, speaks volumes. So we're officially calling it no cake smashing in our household. At least until Oliver is old enough to decide for himself, and who knows, maybe when he's 5 or 6, he'll think it's hilarious, or maybe he'll be like his dad and hate it. Either way, that will be his choice, not something forced on him. Thank you to everyone who weighed in. The comments gave me confidence when I was second-guessing myself. And honestly, it felt nice to know that so many of you also think tradition shouldn't trump a baby's comfort. This is the end of the cake saga, and the beginning of us learning how to parent with boundaries. Wish us luck. Stories number 4. Eta for making my ex move out after they broke up with me? Edit 1. Added some more context that people were asking for. Edit 2. Thank you so much everyone for your kind, affirming words. It means the world to me. I wasn't expecting this to blow up at all. I made this post because he made feel like I was the crazy villain who who was twisting reality and remembering things wrong. But my therapist helped me realize that he was emotionally abusive, and these comments have helped me accept that, after being in denial of it for so long, I know that my life is better off without him now, and I can feel my light coming back. I won't let him or any other abusive man dim that light ever again. Thank you again. 1 month ago, my long-term live-in partner, 36M of 7 years, broke up with me, 29F. I was devastated, but it felt somewhat amicable at first, because he convinced me he was breaking up with me out of love. He said he didn't want to hurt me anymore and thought we were holding each other back from healing, that we were codependent and enabling each other, incompatible, and a bunch of other things. He said he still loved me, but had been thinking about leaving for the past year. I had a feeling it was coming because my depression had worsened due to intense family issues. The stress of balancing being a full-time teacher and grad student and our relationship issues. We were constantly arguing about his refusal to do couples therapy, the impacts of my depression on him, and how I couldn't remember important things because of my ADHD. He believed my personal struggles were affecting the relationship, and that I needed to heal myself first. He also said that he was already talking about our relationship issues in his therapy session, so there was no need to do couples therapy. Despite saying that he talked everything through with his therapist for the past year, he had no concrete plan for our living arrangement. He said he didn't want to abandon me and would stay until we figured things out, but that he was emotionally prepared to move in with his parents. I lived in this rental for years before he moved in, but I brought up that it might be a good idea for me to move out because so many traumatic things have happened to me in this house. He encouraged it and told me that he'd help me pack. The week after our breakup, we continued living together. He was the nicest he'd been to me in a long time, and continued to act like my romantic partner minus sleeping together. We were communicating really well, and it started to feel like we could work things out. When I talked to him about it, he didn't understand why I thought his feelings changed. He said he was mainly doing it to comfort me, that he had the energy to be nicer because the relationship wasn't stressing him out anymore, that he didn't want to cut me off cold turkey so that it wouldn't hurt so much, and that it was hard for him too. He also thought it was okay because whenever I'd ask for hugs, kisses, cuddles, he'd check in with me to see if I was sure I wanted to. I would always say yeah because I was heartbroken and wanted to grasp onto the time I had left with him. During this talk, we realized that we couldn't share the same physical space anymore. He ended up leaving and staying at his parents' house that night. He was really upset about it because he said he had work the next morning and a lot of other stressful things going on. I told him that I was not kicking him out. I told him he could just go for a few days and come back, but he insisted that it was better to stay there for the time being. We started talking about our living situation again, and he suggested that he should be the one to stay in our house. I thought about it and decided I wanted to stay BC. I lived there first, and the rent is pretty affordable for a cute little house. He had assumed that I'd move because of what I said earlier. He also said that he had more stuff and could afford the house on his own. Once it was clear that he had to leave, he immediately became hostile and cold. It was really jarring, and when I called him out for it, he said that I should understand why he's upset. I initially gave him 2 months to move out, but he said that he would be out by the end of the month. It was painful and frustrating to watch because he'd do it super slowly. He would only come on weekends due to his busy work schedule and family obligations. But when he was here, he wouldn't really be efficient about it. He wouldn't even really use boxes until I brought some. I ended up finding a wonderful roommate to replace him. And the end of the month was getting closer and closer. So I had to set a firm deadline for him to take all his stuff out. I also told him that he could keep smaller things there after the first, if that made it easier for him. When I set a firm deadline, he acted like I sprung the news on him last minute. He became nastier every time we talked and complained about how stressed out he was, how much he hated staying at his parents' house, and how he was blowing up his personal life. I just wanted to start healing and move on, so I eventually packed up the rest of his stuff for him and gave it to him. That was the last time I saw him. Since then, he has been telling people that I kicked him out and that he's now being forced to live with his parents. AIT? Stories number 5. My wife died and I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. I'm sitting in a dark apartment. Both my kids are finally asleep in their cribs, and I'm staring at this blank screen because I don't know what else to do with myself. I don't really have anyone to talk to at the moment who gets it. Maybe writing it out will help. So here goes. My name is Matt. I'm 29 years old, and until last week, I had what I thought was a hard but fulfilling life. My wife, Emily, and I had twins last March. Completely unplanned. We were married young. She was 26. I was 28. And I was just starting my first year of residency in pediatrics. Residency is brutal. I mean, people tell you it's brutal, but you don't really understand until you're living on caffeine, fast food, and 3 hours of sleep while trying to keep other people's kids alive. When we found out Emily was pregnant, it was terrifying. Twins? During residency? It felt impossible. But Emily was calm about it in that way she always was. She said, "We'll figure it out, Matt. We always do." And she was right. We did figure it out. She shouldered almost all of the child care, while I worked insane hours. She loved being a mom. She wasn't perfect. No one is. But she was patient, creative, funny. The kind of person who could take 2 screaming newborns and somehow turn it into a game. The plan was that I'd grind my way through residency. Then when I became an attending, things would stabilize. We'd have money for child care, a better schedule, time to actually parent together, instead of her doing 90% and me stumbling home like a zombie. That was the plan. But plans don't mean shit when a distracted teenager is behind the wheel of a car. Last week, Emily went out for a morning run. She loved running. It was her escape, her me time. She kissed the twins, told me she'd be back in 45 minutes, laced up her shoes, and walked out the door. She never came back. A 17-year-old kid was texting. While driving his dad's SUV, he blew through a stop sign going 40 in a residential neighborhood. Emily didn't stand a chance. The police told me it was instant, that she didn't suffer. I cling to that, even though I'll never really know. I got the call while I was at the hospital, mid-shift. One of those calls where you hear the words but your brain refuses to process them. "There's been an accident, I'm so sorry." I remember just sitting in the break room staring at the wall while my co-residents stood around me whispering. And now, here I am, widowed at 29 with 2 one-year-olds. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. My schedule as a second-year resident is still insane. I get 1 day off a week, sometimes not even that. And that 1 day I usually sleep the whole time because I've just come off a 24-hour call. Once a month, I work nights for a whole week. How the hell am I supposed to raise 2 babies with that schedule? Childcare costs. Don't even get me started. I ran the numbers in my head and then on paper just to torture myself. Full-time daycare for 2 infants is basically another mortgage. I don't have family nearby. My parents are in another country and we're not close. Emily's parents. She was estranged from them. They didn't even come to our wedding. There's no aunt or uncle waiting in the wings to step in. It's just me. And I feel like I'm drowning already. I love my kids. God, I love them so much it hurts. But I look at them right now and I see Emily in their faces, and it feels like someone is stabbing me in the chest. And then the guilt comes because they need me. They don't need me collapsing in grief. They need bottles, diapers, playtime, lullabies. They need a dad who's present. But I don't know how to give them that when I'm barely surviving myself. Here's the part I can't say out loud. I've thought about quitting. Just walking away from residency, packing up and figuring out something else. But if I do that, I'll be crushed under student loans for the rest of my life. Hundreds of thousands of dollars with no MD salary to pay them off. I'll be working retail with 2 babies to feed. And then what? We lose our apartment, lose health care, lose everything Emily and I worked so hard for? I can't do that to them. But I also can't imagine continuing like this. I don't know what the right thing is here. Do I push through, knowing my kids will spend 90% of their time in daycare while I'm at the hospital? Do I drop out, knowing I'll tank my future, but at least I'll be physically present for them? Do I try to find some impossible third option that doesn't exist? I just keep thinking, Emily should be here. She should be here to tell me it's going to be okay. To laugh at the absurdity of us trying to juggle twins and medicine. To cry with me when it's too much. But she's not. And I have to figure this out alone. People keep telling me I'm strong. that I'll figure it out, that kids are resilient. But right now, I don't feel strong. I feel like a little boy playing dress-up in a doctor's coat, pretending I know what I'm doing when the truth is I have no idea. I look at my babies and I think, they didn't ask for this. They didn't ask to be born into chaos, to lose their mom before their first birthday, to have a dad who's gone, more than he's home. They deserve better, but better is dead, and all that's left is me. I don't know what to do. Update. My wife died, and I don't know what to do. I didn't expect the response. I got to my post. I wrote it in the middle of the night after crying on the couch while my kids finally slept. I figured maybe 10 people would read it. Maybe a couple would say, "Hang in there, man." I didn't expect thousands of strangers to offer advice, compassion, and even resources. I can't tell you how many times I reread the comments just to feel a little less alone. I owe everyone an update because things have shifted in the last few weeks. Not solved, not even close, but I feel like I'm standing on less shaky ground, taking a leave of absence. The biggest change. I spoke to my program director. I was terrified. I thought he'd tell me to suck it up, that medicine is hard for everyone, and that I just need to figure it out. But he didn't. I sat down in his office, still running on no sleep, and just blurted everything out. Emily's death. The twins. How I didn't know how I could possibly keep going. I expected him to be annoyed. Instead, he just listened. And then he said, "Matt, you need to take care of yourself and your family. Residency will be here when you're ready. So I'm on a leave of absence for the next 6 months. Maybe longer if I need it. It's not a perfect solution. The loans don't pause. The world doesn't stop spinning. But it gives me breathing room." I didn't realize how desperately I needed to just stop until he gave me permission to. Living arrangements. A lot of people suggested moving closer to family. That's complicated. My parents live overseas, and we're not close. Emily's parents. Well, I mentioned they were estranged, and that hasn't magically changed. But one of Emily's cousins, Rachel, reached out after hearing what happened. She lives about an hour away with her husband and 2 kids. She offered to help with babysitting and has been over twice already. I didn't realize how much I needed an adult in the house until she came by and just folded laundry while I fed the twins. It's still mostly me, though I wake up to them crying, I change them, I feed them, I rock them back to sleep. The days blur together. But at least I'm not doing it while also running codes and charting until 3 a.m. The twins. They're too young to understand what happened, which is both a blessing and a curse. They don't cry for Emily by name. They just look for her in the doorways sometimes. They light up when they see her photo on my phone. I keep telling myself that as long as I keep her memory alive, they'll grow up knowing her. Not just as the mom who died, but as the woman who loved them more than anything. I've started writing letters to them. Nothing fancy, just little notes about what Emily was like, what she said during my med school graduation, the way she used to sing off-key in the kitchen. Someday, when they're old enough, I'll give the letters to them. Maybe it will help them feel like they really knew her. Grief. This part is hard to talk about, but it feels dishonest not to. The grief comes in waves. Some days I can function. I make bottles, I do laundry, I take the twins for a walk, and I almost feel like I can manage other days. I sit on the bathroom floor and sob while they nap, because I can't understand how the world keeps turning without her in it. I thought being a doctor would make me better at handling death. I've told parents that their child didn't make it. I've held hands during end-of-life care. But nothing prepares you for it when it's your person. When it's the love of your life. The future? Right now, I don't know if I'll go back to residency. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll decide it's not worth it and pivot into something else. The loans scare the hell out of me. But what scares me more is missing my kids' childhood because I was always at the hospital. But that's a problem for later. For now, the goal is simple. Keep the babies safe, fed, and loved. One day at a time. Final thoughts. I don't know what's going to happen next. But I do know this. Writing that first post saved me from feeling completely alone. And if anyone reading this is in their own pit of grief, I hope you know you're not alone either. I miss Emily every second of every day. But I'm still here. The twins are still here. And for now, that has to be enough. Final update. My wife died and I don't know what to do. It's been just over a year since Emily died. Writing those words still feels wrong, like I've slipped into someone else's story. But it's my reality now. And I wanted to give a final update because so many of you have been with me through the darkest year of my life. The twins are toddlers now. They turned 2 in March too. It blows my mind every single day. They're wild and funny and exhausting in ways I never thought possible. They both inherited Emily's smile, which feels like both a knife in my chest and a gift I don't deserve. They run around the house yelling nonsense words and belly laughing. They're obsessed with trucks, blueberries, and the cat that pretends to hate them but secretly follows them everywhere. They don't remember Emily, not really. But they know her face. Every night before bed, we point to her picture and say, "Good night, Mommy, we love you." Sometimes my daughter kisses the photo. My son once waved at it and said, "Hi, Mama." I broke down crying that night, but it was the kind of cry that felt cleansing instead of crushing. Residency and work. After my leave of absence, I did go back. It wasn't easy. My first shift back, I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes just trying to breathe. I kept telling myself I was doing it for Emily, because she believed in me, because she used to brag about me being Dr. Matt, even when I was just a med student drowning in debt. But here's the truth. I couldn't keep doing 80-hour weeks and still be the dad the twins need after 3 months back. I made the hardest decision of my life. I stepped away from residency permanently. It was terrifying. I felt like I was failing Emily, failing myself, failing every sacrifice we made to get here. But then I'd come home after a 27-hour shift, and the twins would cling to me like I'd been gone for weeks. And I realized, this is where I need to be right now. I've since taken a job as a medical writer. It's not glamorous, and it doesn't pay like being an attending eventually would, but it's flexible. I work from home. I can take the twins to daycare in the morning and pick them up in the afternoon. I can make them dinner. I can actually be present. And you know what? For the first time since Emily died, I don't feel like I'm drowning every single day. Support system. Rachel, Emily's cousin, has been my lifeline. She and her husband treat the twins like extra nieces and nephews. She helps with babysitting when I need a break, and she never makes me feel guilty for asking. I also joined a widowed parents group in my city. At first, I thought it'd be depressing, sitting in a circle of broken people. But it wasn't. It was people who get it, without me having to explain. I've made 2 close friends from that group. Jason, his wife, died of cancer, and Heather, her husband, died in an accident. We've had playdates with the kids, and for a few hours, it almost feels like normal life grief. 1 year later, I still miss Emily every single day. I still catch myself reaching for my phone to text her something funny. I still wake up some mornings and for half a second think she's next to me in bed, but the grief isn't as sharp anymore. It's like living with a limp. You learn how to walk with it. Some days it aches more than others. Some days I barely notice it. But it's always there. Moving forward. I've learned that moving forward doesn't mean moving on. Emily will always be part of me, and part of the twins. But life doesn't stop. People ask if I'll date again someday. Right now, I'm not ready. My world is the twins. Maybe one day I'll have space in my heart for someone else, but I don't feel pressure. I already had the great love of my life. Final thoughts. When I wrote my original post, I truly thought I wouldn't survive this. I couldn't see a way forward. And yet here I am, 1 year later, still standing, still showing up for the twins, still breathing, even when it hurts. If you're in the middle of your own nightmare, please know, it won't always feel this impossible. The pain doesn't vanish, but life will start to weave around it. There will be laughter again. There will be small joys, a toddler's giggle, a quiet morning coffee, a moment where you realize you didn't cry that day. Emily's not here, and that will never stop breaking my heart. But she gave me these 2 little people who keep me going. And for them, I will keep going always. Stories number 6. A-Tay for supposedly labeling my sister's BF a perv. Hey everyone, I kind of feel conflicted about this, and I really need advice on this because so far it seems like I overreacted. I 37F have a daughter. Leah 10F, fake name Leah, wanted to go sleep over at her aunt's house. who is my younger sister. Her cousin 12F, who is my brother's child, was going to be there. So I guess cousin bonding time. My sister is considered the fun aunt. So I agreed, and Friday morning we dropped Leah off. The same day at around 11 p.m. 23-hour Leah calls and tells me she wants to come home. I asked her why, and she explained that my sister's boyfriend was there, and she just feels a little uncomfortable, I asked, and made sure everything is okay, and that nothing provoked her to ask me to pick her up, then convinced her to at least sleep for the night. Then we will pick her up in the morning. She calls again after what I think is 45 minutes, and says she wants to come home, and she will only sleep at home. I got ready and drove 30 minutes to get her, and when I got there I found my sister was pissed. To cut the long story short, she thinks that I think her boyfriend is a creep and a pervert, and that I do not trust him around my daughter. She thinks I am being too overprotective, and Leah would have adjusted if I left it alone. She said kids do this with new people, and I made it a big deal. Since then, things have been sour. My sister says to fix things, I should apologize to her man because he feels like I do not trust him. I asked my husband Jason, 40M, fake name, for his input, and he says he understands where my sister and her BF are coming from. He said as a man, even he would feel some type of way if a child called her mom twice to come get her because he is present in the house. He advised me to apologize to them and try to get Leah used to the BF being around. All I did was peacefully get Leah. No accusations were made towards my sister's man, and I have never said I do not like him or think of him as a pervert. I don't understand why all this became an issue. My husband thinks Leah should just try to adjust because her cousin was okay at the sleepover and didn't complain. I feel conflicted. It's not that I think I was wrong, but I also don't think I was right. I just need to know if I was dramatic by getting her. I also want to hear from the men, if this would offend them, and if I should apologize. I feel bad about all of this. Ita 4. Getting my daughter from the sleepover. Relevant comments. How long has Oop's sister has been dating her boyfriend? Reply. He has been seeing her for about 2 months now. Commenter 1. NTA. Listen to your kids. Did you ever ascertain what he did to make her uncomfortable? Regardless, you do not need to apologize for listening to and respecting your daughter's concerns. That's called being a good parent. Reply. She didn't really explain. All she keeps saying is that she was uncomfortable. Commenter 2. Info. Did your daughter know that the BF was going to be there? Was he staying the night? If any of this was a surprise to her, then the evening wasn't going to go the way she thought it would. Either way, NTA, I would have done the same thing. Reply. No, my daughter did not know he would be there. Yes, he was spending the night. Commenter 3. NTA. I don't care if he's Nelson fucking Mandela. If your kid says she feels unsafe, that is all that matters. And she should not be taught that she should get used to being uncomfortable and just deal. Your husband sucks. If I at 10 told my parents a grown man was making me uncomfortable, my father would at the very least tell that man he wasn't allowed near me. Your husband is choosing the concept of false accusations of men to ignore someone who is making you daughter that upset. It's disgusting. Reply. I am a bit disappointed in him. I won't lie. Update. AITAH. For supposedly labeling my sister's BF a perv. Hello everyone. I want to thank you for the post I made last night and all the responses I got. I also do understand why some were angry I didn't pick Leah up the first time, and also about leaving the 12-year-old Amanda there. With that being said, I have an update. For the sake of privacy, I will name my sister Jane and the boyfriend Mike. So here's how this went. I called Leah to talk to her dad, and she refused to talk at all, and said that she just uncomfortable and missed us. And my husband asked her if she would be looking to apologize to Auntie Jane, and she refused. I wanted to be sure she is a 100%. Okay, so I asked my husband to excuse us. I told her I will not shame or be angry at her for whatever she tells me, and asked specifically for what made her uncomfortable. She said Mike played a tickle game with Amanda and she kept saying no. And she also told me that he talked about how they are developing well. He also did the same tickling game with Leah. And when she told Jane she doesn't like being tickled, Jane said it's just having fun. That's when she called the first time. The reason for what made her call the second time, she said, Mike insisted on the girls showering before bedtime, and gave Leah a lingering bedtime hug. She told me all about when they were eating. He would call her his favorite smart little girl, or the sitting too close. She didn't want to sleep there. Even with the door being locked, to say I feel guilty for not picking her up the first time is an understatement. After this talk, I called my brother and we talked. Amanda says she slept okay, but she could hear feet moving at night. Other than those uncomfortable instances, nothing else happened afterwards. My husband knows now about all this, and he doesn't understand why Leah would wait this long to tell us if something was really wrong, considering how close we are. The sleepover was last week Friday. So a week, he thinks she feels pressured into giving a reason for her discomfort. I don't care what he has to say, to be honest. I believe my baby. I did apologize to Amanda for not taking her with, and she has no hard feelings. She knew her dad wouldn't have come. Leah feels like her feelings are dramatic, and I am trying to make her understand that she is valid. My brother, surprisingly, just seems unbothered about all this. With that being said, the only sleepovers that will take place will be in our home. I thank you all for the advice. I don't know when I will talk to Jane, or if I even want anything to do with her. Relevant. Comments, commenter. 1. Your husband needs to read these comments and take very seriously his daughter's very legitimate concerns. He needs to understand that his reaction and dismissiveness is exactly why she didn't tell you all right away. He's defensiveness about this. His first reaction was how he'd feel if this happened to him, not how his child is feeling. That's awful. He's prioritizing his feeling as a grown male adult over a young girl's feelings who is very vulnerable. Girls are their most vulnerable to abuse when at sleepovers. Your daughter did the brave thing, asking to come home twice. She was being preyed on by your sister's boyfriend. He was grooming those girls with that behavior, and your husband's dismissiveness is proving to your daughter that her father won't protect her. You need to hammer that point home to him and explain to him what girls and women go through all the time. It's disgusting how he's behaving, and I feel so bad for your daughter. Reply. You are right, I will try to make him understand. Commenter 2, NTA. And your husband and the other girl's father should both be ashamed of themselves for minimizing their daughter's discomfort. They are leaving them wide open for predators and grooming. I'd give serious consideration to taking my kids and leaving this situation immediately. And there would be no unsupervised visitations. If I can't trust you to protect my kid. Not with dad, aunt, or uncle. Protect your baby. OP. Reply. I will protect her with all I have. If my dad was alive, he would have talked to my husband, since my late mom was a CSA survivor. Commenter. 3. Your husband and brother are dismissive because they don't believe Leah. Your husband saying, well, we're close. Why didn't you say something before? This means you're lying, is only him trying to teach your daughter that she shouldn't have bodily autonomy. If she doesn't want to be tickled or hugged or touched, she is right to say so, and all others need to respect that. Your husband is trying to teach his own daughter to be sweet, and it's infuriating. Reply. He sees her behavior as a child being a child. It is infuriating and quite frankly disappointing. Us don't want Leah to feel like her dad doesn't care about her, because it will affect her. I am looking into therapy for her. Commenter 4. Where is Amanda's mother in this? I think it would be wise to tell Amanda's that if she is ever sent there again, and she doesn't want to be there, she can call you, and you will come and get her. Also, having the chat with your brother and telling him that if you ever find that Amanda has been subjected to the guy again, then you won't hesitate to contact the police. On the note of the police, it might be worth looking into this guy to see if he has anything in the system against him. Tell your sister that your daughter will no longer be attending her place due to the obvious safety issues. When she tells you that your daughter and Amanda are wrong, advise her that she should be thankful you have not contacted the police yet. Reply. Amanda's mom left after my brother cheated when Amanda was 8, but they have made progress in healthy co-parenting. I do not know if my brother told Amanda's mom. I would tell her if I could find a way to contact her. My sister blocked me. Upi clarifies on Mike being over at Jane's place and why he was there. Reply. They didn't move in together, and I never said they lived together. It seems he came to sleep over that night. Leah and her cousin always go for sleepovers with their aunt, so it's nothing new. Lastly, don't judge my daughter for choosing why. She wasn't comfortable, she ended up explaining anyways. And that is why I posted an update, final update. ATA. for supposedly labeling my sister's BF a perv. Hi everyone, thank you for all your support on the 2 previous posts. This is just a short and quick last update. First things first, I take full accountability and admit that I was wrong to tell my daughter. We will pick her up in the morning. I agree that she should not have had to call twice for me to come get her. I have apologized and spoken to her about it. I also do accept that I was wrong to leave Amanda there. Even though she told me she was okay, I should have pressed on and told her to come with. I will always look out for her, as I will. Leah, currently my sister and I are not on speaking terms. I am blocked. I drove to her house but she wasn't there, so I left after about an hour. The trash took itself out, I guess. My husband and I are not also on speaking terms. He has not talked to me since I showed him the last 2 posts and the comments. Leah thinks her dad thinks she was wrong, and I had to assure her countless times that she was doing the right thing. He thinks we made drama up over matter that could have been solved over lunch. He still thinks Mike was just being friendly. I want to file a report, but I do know if the reasons are credible enough to. But I am looking into it. I do want to look into separation. I cannot stay with someone. Go dismisses our daughter's emotions. She has been feeling so guilty and apologized to him multiple times. So I have to do what is best for her. Amanda's mom told me he will talk to my brother. I do not know how that went. I will ask her later. I do not understand how a phone call and my picking my daughter up caused such a ruckus. My husband does not like Reddit advice, and to be frank, he was quite offended. I posted, I just don't get what this man's problem is. I really don't get the way he dismisses Leah because he feels like nothing major happened. So it's an overreaction. Either way, it's just disappointing. Anyways, I appreciate all the advice and correction from you all. Top comments. Commenter 1, I appreciate you thinking of separation. Your daughter did the right thing, and I'm suspicious why your husband isn't furious at a grown man touching children in this way. I hope your daughter doesn't internalize his reaction. I would talk to a therapist to figure out how to handle if you guys need to separate so she is okay. Commenter 2, my recommendation: get online and do some background research on this guy. He may have a criminal history that you want to know about, and it may be that knowing about it will protect your niece too. Your sister, well, you said it. The trash took itself out. Your husband, people like him are why girls are afraid they won't be believed. Commenter 3, I'm glad your daughter has you in her corner. You wouldn't believe how often stuff like this just gets swept under the rug. It's crazy how little children are believed. As someone who works with kids, I know firsthand that while children will not always tell the truth, it's a hell of a lot easier to believe them first and foremost than to brush them off. They will always remember how you reacted to the situation, and know who is a safe and trusted adult. Wishing you and your daughter the best. Op. Stories number 7. My sister and brother-in-law are mad at me because I refused to fix their microwave after muting it. I 31F recently got myself tangled up in some family drama that I did not expect to come from. Of all things, a microwave. Yeah, you read that right. A microwave. For context, I was staying with my older sister, Melissa, 34F, and her husband, Roger, 36M, for a long weekend. They live in a big 2-story suburban home in Ohio, with one of those massive open floor plan layouts. Kitchen, dining room, and living room all bleed into one giant echo chamber, so literally every sound carries. Now, I need to explain something about Roger. On the surface, he's a perfectly fine guy. He works hard, he's funny when he wants to be, and he's a loving dad to their 2 kids, but he has this habit, a very specific, very annoying habit that drives everyone in their household insane. Whenever he heats something in the microwave, a burrito, leftover pizza, reheated coffee, whatever, he never actually retrieves it. Once the microwave beeps, he just lets it sit there. The microwave will finish its cycle, beep 5 times, stop, and then a minute later, beep again. Over and over, for as long as it takes until someone else in the house, usually Melissa or one of the kids, gives up and gets his food for him. And it's not like he forgets. He does it on purpose. I'm not exaggerating here. I've watched him sit on the couch in full view of the kitchen, scrolling on his phone, while the microwave goes off like a car alarm. He'll smirk and shout, "Hey, it's ready," like he's at a restaurant and someone should be serving him. The man has turned his microwave into a dinner bell. Melissa has told me before that it drives her up the wall, but she usually just rolls her eyes and does it because she doesn't like the noise either. The kids complain too, but Roger thinks it's funny. He literally laughs about it. What? It works. I get room service in my own house. So last weekend I was staying over to spend time with Melissa and the kids. Sure enough, Roger pulled his little stunt. He put some frozen taquitos in the microwave, let it beep endlessly, and waited until Melissa finally sighed and brought him his plate like a waitress. I couldn't take it. That sound is grating enough in a normal kitchen. But in their house, it's like having a smoke detector go off every 30 seconds. That night, after everyone went to bed, I pulled out my phone and Googled the make and model of their microwave. Surprise, surprise. It took me all of 30 seconds to find the instructions to mute the beeping entirely. No more shrill beeps echoing through the house. Just blissful silence. The next morning, Roger went to reheat his coffee. He pressed the button, walked away, and a minute later, silence. No beep, nothing. He kind of frowned, waited, then walked back to the kitchen and opened the door. When he realized his mug had been sitting there finished without summoning anyone, he looked confused. At first he thought the microwave was broken. Melissa figured it out pretty quickly, though, because she knows me. She shot me a look, I shrugged, and she burst out laughing. "You muted it, didn't you?" she asked. Guilty as charged. I thought she'd be mad. But nope. She actually thanked me. "Do you realize how peaceful it's been today?" I didn't hear a single beep. Roger, on the other hand, was pissed. He said I had no right to tamper with his property. I told him I didn't tamper. I just used the settings it already had. Google is free. He could change it back if he wanted. He accused me of interfering in their marriage, which was honestly hilarious to me because, dude, if your marriage relies on microwave beeps, maybe you've got bigger issues. Over the next couple of days, something unexpected happened. Melissa kept pulling me aside to say how much she loved it. She said she hadn't realized how much the constant noise stressed her out until it was gone. Even the kids were calmer because they weren't constantly being yelled at to go get Dad's food. The whole vibe of the house was better. Roger sulked. He tried heating things and waiting, but obviously no one brought them to him anymore. He'd huff and stomp to the kitchen, muttering about how someone thinks they're clever. At one point, he even joked about buying a brand new microwave. Melissa immediately shot back, "If you do, I'll just mute that one too." He didn't have a comeback for that. By the time I left, the microwave was still muted. Melissa begged me not to tell him how to undo it, because she wanted the peace to last as long as possible. I agreed. Now here's where the drama comes in. Roger has been texting me non-stop since then, demanding I come back and fix it. I told him it's not broken, and that if he wants the beeping back, he can figure it out himself. He's insisting I owe him because I messed with his stuff. Melissa texted me privately saying she's so grateful I did it, but she also admitted Roger is sulking and bringing it up in arguments with her. Apparently, he told her I was meddling in their relationship, and that I overstepped. She says she's pretending to be mad at me in front of him so he doesn't blow up, but privately she's like, "Please don't change it back." So now I'm stuck. On the one hand, I feel like I solved a problem that was actually stressing my sister out. On the other hand, Roger clearly feels undermined. I don't regret it, but I'm starting to wonder if I unintentionally poured gasoline on something in their marriage that I don't fully understand. So yeah, that's how I managed to create a family feud over a microwave update. My sister and brother-in-law are mad at me because I refused to fix their microwave after muting it. Hey everyone, thanks for all the responses on my original post. I honestly didn't expect this many people to have strong opinions about microwaves, but apparently it's a universal battlefield. A lot has happened since I posted, so buckle up. After I left Melissa's house, things simmered for a bit. I thought maybe Roger would just suck it up and get over it. Spoiler, he did not. Apparently the microwave situation became his new bit. Like, instead of laughing about making his family his personal waitstaff, he now started joking about how his wife and sister-in-law were conspiring against him. Melissa told me he would make these little digs during dinner like, "Oh, I'd ask someone to bring me my food, but I guess the mute police said no. Better not touch the microwave. Who knows what secret settings will get changed. Technology isn't even safe in my own house." At first, she thought he was just being dramatic for laughs, but then he actually went on Amazon and started browsing for a new microwave. He told Melissa straight up, "If I buy one, you're not allowed to touch it." Melissa called me in the middle of this. She was half laughing, half exasperated, saying, "He's really losing his mind over this. Do you realize he's threatening to spend $200 just to get his beeping back?" I told her, "Melissa, if he buys a new one, just Google the manual again. It's not rocket science." She laughed so hard she had to hang up. But here's where things escalated. Melissa and Roger hosted a little family dinner last Friday. Nothing fancy, just some pasta, wine, and everyone hanging out. I came over because they insisted. And of course the topic of the microwave came up again. Roger brought it up in front of the kids, saying, "See, Uncle Mike would never mess with my stuff, like Auntie did." Yes, he actually compared me to his brother to try to make himself look better. The kids immediately jumped in. "No, we like it quiet now." His daughter, who's 9, actually said, "Dad, you're just lazy, get your own food." I swear I almost spit out my wine. Roger did not find it funny. He got defensive, saying it's not about being lazy, it's about tradition. What tradition? The tradition of refusing to stand up for your hot pockets? Melissa lost it and said, "Roger, stop pretending you're defending some cultural practice, you just like making everyone wait on you." That led to a full-blown argument in the middle of dinner. Melissa was visibly frustrated, saying she was done being his microwave maid. Roger stormed off to the garage like a sulky teenager. The kids were giggling through all of this, by the way, because to them it's basically mom versus dad in the dumbest fight ever. The next day, Roger texted me directly again, but instead of demanding I fix it, he sent me a link to a YouTube video about respecting boundaries in marriage. He actually said, "Maybe you should watch this and reflect on how you meddle in things that aren't yours." I laughed out loud. Then I replied, "Maybe you should Google how to press the start button yourself." He didn't respond. Now here's the kicker. Melissa called me yesterday practically crying from laughter. Roger finally broke down and tried to re-enable the beeping himself. He Googled the instructions, followed them step by step, and somehow managed to reset the clock instead. So now their microwave not only doesn't beep, but it flashes the wrong time constantly, and he can't figure out how to fix it. Melissa swears she's not touching it. She told me, if he wants his beep so bad he can earn it. So as of this update, the microwave is still muted, Roger is sulking, the kids are roasting him daily, and Melissa says she has never loved her kitchen more, honestly. I feel like I might have started World War III in their house. But also, it's the quietest war they've ever had. Final update. The microwave war ends. Quietly, okay everyone, buckle up because this saga has finally reached some kind of peace. Maybe so. After my last update, the microwave situation continued to dominate the household in weird little ways. Roger sulked, muttered under his breath about microwave sabotage, and occasionally tried to sneakily press buttons. Only to have the kids gleefully point out that it still wouldn't beep Melissa? She was quietly loving it. She called it the most peaceful kitchen ever. Last weekend, Roger finally admitted defeat. He sent Melissa a message saying something along the lines of, "Fine, I give up. I guess I'll just eat my food when it's ready instead of expecting a marching band of humans to do it for me." Melissa forwarded it to me with a screenshot and laughed until she cried. She said, "You won. He actually caved without breaking anything else. You're officially the silent hero of the house." The kids have fully embraced the beep-free life. They even started calling the microwave Uncle Mike's Magic Box, because it's quiet now and no one gets bossed around by random beeps. Roger tried to argue that it's not magic, it's mechanical efficiency. But we all knew the truth. Here's the funniest part. A week later, Roger tried to sneak a bag of popcorn into the microwave at 10 p.m., hoping the beep would somehow magically happen. It didn't. He stared at it for a full 2 minutes, then sighed, muttering, "This is your victory, Mike. Enjoy it." Melissa and I have since made a pact to never touch it again. But we've both agreed that if Roger buys a new microwave, it's 100% his problem to set it up. Google manuals are apparently life lessons. The household is quieter, calmer, and honestly, a little happier. The kids love it. Melissa keeps sending me texts saying, "You've changed our kitchen forever. I think he secretly respects you now, or at least fears your tech prowess." I guess the moral of the story is, sometimes small acts of rebellion, like muting a microwave, can have a surprisingly profound effect on domestic peace. Also, Google is a powerful ally, so Reddit. I'll admit it, I might have technically interfered in someone else's marriage, but I also think I gave them a lesson in patience, independence, and maybe humility. And bonus, zero beeps microwave war over victory. Sweet, sweet silence. Stories. Number 8. My 27F brother, 32, is out of prison after 10 years, and I don't know if I should see him. My brother was a thief. He drunkenly stole a car and had an accident, causing major damage to another person. He got 10 years in prison. After he was sent to prison, my parents were devastated. My father was a sober alcoholic for 15 years, and he started drinking again and eventually died of cancer. My mother killed herself a little later, leaving me all alone when I was 20. I understand that my brother isn't to blame for what happened to them, as he didn't intentionally want these to happen. But his actions led to those things happening. Nevertheless, I stopped visiting him after Mom died. For the next 2 years, he's been off my mind completely. I haven't given him any thought. But now I learned that he's been out for 2 months now, and he's staying with our uncle, helping out with his farm. He hasn't tried to reach me. I don't know if I should reach out. I'm guessing he stayed away from me after his release because I stopped visiting him years ago, so he's respecting my wishes. He was 22 when it all happened, so a lot of time has passed, and I don't really know what kind of person he is now. I don't know how I'd feel if I see him again. I welcome any and all suggestions and advice. Dr. Brother did crimes which got him sent to prison, and that was the start of a chain that destroyed our family and left my parents dead. He's out now. Not sure if I should start contact update. I remembered posting here and decided to give an update. After 15 years, I decided to go and see him. I talked to my uncle first, and he told me that my brother is acting great, doing good work, and is being very reasonable about everything. He also said he's asked about me but kept his distance out of respect, since I stopped visiting him in prison. When I met him, it wasn't easy. I had some unresolved feelings, and I ended up shouting at him a little, but also eventually ended up crying in his arms. We talked for hours and hours that day. The more we talked, the more I realized how much I missed him, and having him in my life, and also how little I knew about our parents. They were horrible to him, really abusive. Our father used to hit him. I remember him crying in his room sometimes. I always teased him and mocked him for it. I was a lot younger and didn't know what was going on, but I have vague memories that I mostly hurried, but now they made a lot of sense. I even remember our dad went to his room with a belt. My mom told me he wanted to see if it fits on my brother's pants. I was 12. I think I believed it, and ever thought twice. No wonder he was acting out and was troubled. I know, it doesn't excuse what he did that left him in prison, but it adds some context. When I visited him in prison early on, he would always ask me if our parents are treating me well. They were, to be fair, they never abused me. Or if they did, I don't remember. I thought he was trying to badmouth them, but he was worried about me. He apologized to me that his stupid mistake ended up separating us because he had promised himself to keep me safe and to help me when I turn 18. Our grandma confirmed the abuse as well when I talked to her. She knew about it and did nothing. She told me my mom didn't kill herself because of what my brother did, or my dad's repulse. It was over guilt for not doing anything to end the abuse that my brother suffered for years. My view of my parents have changed completely. To make it short, we decided to restart our family with a clean slate. We promised to love each other and take care of each other. We've both been to therapy as well. We missed a lot of years, but we have a lot of time ahead of us. It's so good to have a family again. I've had friends in these times, but never had someone who knew everything about me. Someone I could trust and always rely on, and being that person to someone else. Now I have that, and it's amazing. We talk on most days and see each other at least once a week. He's still working in the farm with our uncle and is doing a good job, but I convinced him to go back to college and get his degree. He began this semester, He's also staying away from alcohol completely. And I'm doing the same. Both our parents had an alcohol problem, and he did something horrible while drunk, and our uncle has also been having DUIs. People in our family should not be drinking. I never had a problem with alcohol, but I think doing it together is just easier for him and me. So overall, life is good. And I'm really hopeful for our future. Thanks for your help. Especially those who gave me the courage to step up and meet him TLDR. Met with brother. Realized there were more going on that I knew we made our peace, and now 15 years later, life is great. Final comments. Commenter. 1. I'm glad it worked out well for you, OP. I wish you and your brother much happiness and contentment. Your brother, especially since he's been through a lot of crap through this life. Reply. Thank you. Yes, he's been through a lot, and he deserves to have a loving family now. Commenter 2. You are awesome. So many people just walk away, so much advice they leave him, but you treated him like family. You learned what his life was like, and it brought you closer. I'm happy. For you, OP. It took guts to do what you did, and your life is now better for it. Good job, and good luck in the future. Reply. Yeah. I'm a little ashamed I walked away from him when he was in prison, but he's forgiven me for that. I actually wasn't prepared to hear his side back then, so I might have actually reacted poorly to it. Stories. Number 9. My body versus prune juice, the day I learned fear. So I woke up this morning with what felt like a solid plan. Eat a decent breakfast, get some errands done, and then start packing for my flight tomorrow. I had my checklist, I had my coffee, and thanks to the weekly grocery delivery, I had a fridge full of healthy food, so I thought, see, the store swapped out one of my items. I had ordered beet juice because I'm trying to pretend I'm the kind of adult who buys beet juice instead of, like, Dr. Pepper. But apparently they were out of stock, so the delivery guy, let's call him Kevin, handed me this bottle of prune juice instead. It's kind of similar, Kevin said casually, as if handing me a bottle of weaponized diarrhea was no big deal. I shrugged it off. Juice is juice, right? Breakfast rolls around, I'm making eggs, toast, the whole deal. I pour myself a pint glass of prune juice, thinking, wow, this actually tastes nice. Smooth, a little tart, pretty refreshing. I finish the glass in like 3 gulps. Then I look at the bottle sitting there, mocking me with its purple richness, and think, you know what? Another half pint won't hurt. Reader, it hurt. About 45 minutes later, I felt the first rumblings. At first, it was subtle, like distant thunder. Then it escalated to full-on storm clouds gathering in my intestines. My stomach started making noises I've never heard before in nearly 40 years of living. It was like a live recording of Jurassic Park in there. Every creak of my intestines sounded like Jeff Goldblum was about to warn me that life finds a way. I sat down on the toilet thinking, it'd be a quick job. Oh no. This was not a normal bowel movement. This was a full-scale evacuation. It felt like my body was reenacting X-Men 1 when that senator melts into a puddle. Except I was the senator, and the prune juice was Magneto 5 minutes in. I thought, okay, that was bad, but I'm probably done now. I tried to stand. My body laughed. Nope. Sit back down, soldier. We're not finished. 10 minutes later, I was sweating. I had my head in my hands, bargaining with any higher power that would listen. Please, I have things to do today. I have a flight tomorrow. I will never mock old people for drinking prune juice again. Just let this end. At the 20-minute mark, my cat, let's call her Daisy, wandered in to check on me. The look she gave me was somewhere between pity and disgust. Like, you did this to yourself, human. You drank the devil's smoothie. Don't look at me for help. By 40 minutes, I had lost track of time. My phone battery was at 20%. My legs had gone numb. The air in the bathroom was heavy, and I swear I could hear my neighbors John and Melissa in the apartment next door whispering about the unholy sounds coming through the walls an hour in. And I'm asking real questions. Why do they sell prune juice next to orange juice and apple juice like it's safe? Why isn't there a giant warning label that says, drink at your own risk unless you want to liquefy your organs? Why isn't this prescription only? At one point I thought about calling my wife Hannah to tell her goodbye, because I wasn't sure I'd survive. Instead I texted my friend Mark, dude, if I don't make it, tell my kids I love them. Also, never drink prune juice. He responded with nothing but crying laugh emojis. Meanwhile, my to-do list is sitting abandoned on the kitchen counter errands, canceled laundry, forgotten packing for the flight. The only bag I was packing today was my colon. It's been over an hour, and I'm still glued to this porcelain throne. I'm dehydrated, exhausted, and emotionally broken. My body feels like it's declaring independence from me. The noises haven't stopped. It's like there's a war drum inside me, pounding out the rhythm of my shame. The worst part? I actually liked the taste. That was the betrayal. Prune juice seduced me with its smooth flavor, and then turned my intestines into a slip and slide. So yeah, if anyone is wondering when this will end, apparently never. This is my life now I live. Here I am, the ghost who haunts this bathroom. Has anyone else made this mistake? Please tell me I'm not alone. Please tell me there's hope. Update. I survived the purple apocalypse, barely. So I didn't die. That's the good news. The bad news is that prune juice left scars. Emotional, physical, and possibly spiritual. After I posted, things got worse before they got better. Around the 90-minute mark, I thought, maybe this is the end of the storm. Nope. That was just the eye. My body had more in store. I don't know if anyone else has ever felt like their digestive tract was staging a Broadway musical, but mine was putting on a whole 3-act production. Tap dancing, pyrotechnics. The works at one point. I was hunched over, gripping the sink with one hand, toilet paper roll in the other like it was a life preserver, and I genuinely considered calling 911. I imagined the paramedics, let's call them Officer Tim and EMT Sarah, busting down the bathroom door only to find me sweating like a sinner in church, pants around my ankles, whispering, prune juice, like it was my safe word. The dignity loss would have been permanent. So I held on. My wife, Hannah, eventually came home and knocked on the bathroom door. Hannah, you okay in there? Me. Define okay, Hannah. Why does it smell like the end of the world? Me. Ask the prune juice. I told her what happened, and she laughed so hard I thought she was going to collapse in the hallway. Then she made the mistake of Googling prune juice dosage while I was still sitting there. Did you know that experts recommend half a cup if you're constipated? Half a cup, not a pint. Definitely not 2. Apparently, I had just chugged enough to clean out a small town's plumbing system. Around the 2-hour mark, things slowed down. I staggered out of the bathroom looking like I had been lost at sea. My legs wobbled, my face was pale. Hannah said, I looked like a man who had seen things. She wasn't wrong. The rest of the day was a blur of Gatorade, saltine crackers, and me lying on the couch staring at the ceiling fan, trying to process my new reality. My cat Daisy sat on the armrest like some kind of furry therapist, just watching me with that same, you brought this on yourself expression. But here's where it got funnier. I had to fly the next morning. Cue my anxiety. Imagine walking into an airport less than 24 hours after drinking liquid TNT. Every sound my stomach made while standing in the TSA line felt like a countdown timer. I kept clenching like my life depended on it. Because, well, it did. Of course, my luck being what it is, security pulled me aside for a random check. While the officer, let's call him Brandon, patted me down, my stomach gurgled loud enough for everyone within a 20-foot radius to hear. He looked me dead in the eyes and asked, You okay, sir? I just whispered, Prune juice. He didn't ask further questions. Miraculously, I made it on the plane. Miraculously, I didn't destroy the airplane bathroom mid-flight. By the time I landed, things had mostly returned to normal. Like my bowels were still giving me side-eye, but they had calmed down enough to let me function. Now that I've survived, I feel like I owe a public service announcement. Prune juice is not juice. It is liquid dynamite. Treat it with respect. Serving size matters. Half a cup can help. A pint can end you. 2 pints? That's a war crime. Don't be cocky. You might think you have a strong stomach, you don't. Nobody does. Since then, every friend I've told has roasted me relentlessly. My buddy Mark still sends me prune juice memes daily. My neighbor Melissa actually slipped a bottle of prune juice in front of my door like a prank gift. My mom called me just to say, Honey, even your grandma knows not to drink that much prune juice. I'm never living this down. Final thoughts. Taste, 7 to 10. Pretty decent. Actually consistency, 8-10. Smooth, not thick laxative effects, 10,000 to 10. I could probably have cleared out the entire eastern seaboard if I'd shared a glass with them. Chance of drinking it again. 0 to 10. Unless I develop constipation so severe that it requires biblical intervention. So yeah, lesson learned. Never underestimate prune juice. It's not a drink, it's a lifestyle, and not the kind you want. Final update. Alright folks, time to put a bow on this prune juice saga because my digestive system and my dignity both need closure. It's been about a week since I made the mistake of slamming back a pint of prune juice with breakfast. I can officially say my body has returned to normal operating procedures. No more noises like a war zone in my stomach. No more sprinting to the bathroom. Like I'm auditioning for the Olympics, just peace, sweet. Regular peace. But man, this whole thing changed me. My wife Hannah has officially banned prune juice from the house. She even wrote it on the grocery delivery notes. No substitutions. If you're out of beet juice, cancel it. She's not playing around. My buddy Mark, the one who witnessed the chaos firsthand, won't stop bringing it up in our group chat. Every time someone suggests grabbing drinks, he just drops a prune emoji. I may never live this down. The funniest part? My mom mailed me a care package with Pepto, Pedialyte, and a note that said, "Love you, but don't be stupid." Thanks, Mom, and because Reddit wanted a full review. Taste, still a solid 7-10 consistency. 8-10, kinda smooth, kinda thick digestive. Destruction. Still holding strong at 1,010 odds of drinking it again, 0-10. Unless I'm paid handsomely or being tortured for state secrets. So yeah. Lesson learned. Never underestimate the prune. Thanks for all the comments, the sympathy, the horror, stories, and the roast sessions. I came here embarrassed and left here with a new nickname among my friends, the Throne King. Not sure it's the legacy I wanted, but hey, at least I made my flight stay safe out there. And may your fruit juice always be mild. Stories number 10. Ada for telling my mom she's dumb if she thinks I'm the one who ruined my clothes when I was 11. For context, I, 25F, was having an argument with my 62F mother about back when I was 11. I used to put my clothes in the bathroom after I would change because I shared a room with 3 boys, so the only place I could change in privacy was the bathroom. I would put my clothes in a pile under the sink and grab them on Fridays and wash them in the bathtub because we didn't have a working washer or dryer. This wasn't a problem for months and months. No one touched my clothes for months of me doing this. Suddenly and without warning, my mother decided to start hoarding toilet paper downstairs right behind her on the opposite side of the couch, which you cannot reach unless you try to climb over her siblings, and I would ask her for toilet paper and she would give maybe 2 or 3 squares, which even for a 12-year-old isn't enough to wipe themselves. I didn't think much of it, given we all went to school and had backpacks, so I started stealing toilet paper from my middle school, compensate for the toilet paper missing. I didn't consider moving my clothing out of the bathroom because I didn't consider the possibility of it becoming bottom rags. I cannot give you a definitive timeline on when this exactly happened. I just know it was during a school year. I was never yelled at for having clothes in the bathroom before, and when I went to change on Tuesday that week, I screamed in horror as I noticed the clothes I had left on the floor the day before all had streaks on them. Even my underwear. My entire outfit was used as toilet paper. I immediately switched tactics. Once I finished changing, I picked up the clothes I was just wearing and put them in my bedroom. I took a trash bag and threw away the nasty, disgusting clothes. Then the next day when I wake up and get ready for school, I go into the bathroom, and more of my clothes are already on the floor. I was almost late for school that day, so I left and didn't say anything to anyone about it. When I got home, I went into the bathroom to get changed, and even more of my clothes were on the floor, used. This is an indicator to me now, as a 25-year-old, that even the brothers that weren't going to school with me, 3 out of 6 brothers were taking my clothes out of my bedroom to use it as toilet paper. I did eventually tell, but it didn't stop the situation. It continued to escalate as I was helpless. To stop it, I never caught them taking my clothes. I did tell my parents at the time, but it didn't stop until I had only 1 shirt, 1 pair of pants, and 1 pair of undergarments. About 2 months after that, the hoarding rule was absolved. No one apologized, and my parents didn't buy me anything to wear. I reminded my mother of this situation about 2 days ago and told her I didn't understand why she started hoarding toilet paper suddenly back then. She said she didn't, that she just wanted people to come up and ask for it. I told her that's hoarding, and that she would barely give anybody anything to wipe their bodies with, so they defaulted to the youngest child's clothing. She said it's my fault for leaving clothes in the bathroom. I reminded her I was a 11-year-old girl who shared a room with 3 boys and had to change in the bathroom, on top of the fact that I did notice, and I did immediately stop, but people kept taking my clothes into the bathroom from the bedroom and using it as rags. That the only time I got clothes back, after only having an outfit for almost a year straight, 11 to 12, was when my sister passed away and I inherited all her clothing. The month after I turned 13, my mother is adamant that it is my fault. I am the reason why I had no clothes. I had nowhere to hide them. I had nowhere to lock them up. I had a diary at the time too that they tore open within a week and started making fun of me excessively for everything I wrote down. I told her she's stupid if she thinks that it's my fault an 11-year-old girl went without clothing because she left it in the bathroom. No, they wouldn't ever even used my clothes as toilet paper if she didn't hoard it. Or if she had been generous with the amount she'd given. I know for a fact she wasn't, because I still went out of my way to steal from school instead of asking her because she did not. Now she's butthurt with me, saying toxic things like, I'm just a bad mom and she's better off dead. I feel like I can't win. I want to be honest with her about the pain she caused and just get a genuine apology, but I don't think that will ever happen. Stories number 11. My Costco trip turned into an abortion debate. Because of my t-shirt. So this happened a couple weeks ago, but it's still rattling around in my head, and honestly, writing it out might help. I'm 27F, and my boyfriend Alex, 29M, and I went to Costco on a random Saturday morning. The plan was simple. I needed to see if the optics counter could fix my broken glasses, and Alex wanted to pick up some snacks and a bulk pack of sparkling water. Super ordinary errand, nothing special. I was wearing jeans, sneakers, and one of my favorite t-shirts. It's a black Planned Parenthood shirt with bold pink lettering. I've had it for years. I wear it all the time to the gym, to run errands, whatever. To me, it's just a comfy shirt that also quietly supports a cause I believe in. I didn't think twice about throwing it on before leaving the house. We get to Costco, head over to the optics section, and I check in. The lady at the counter tells me it'll be a few minutes until they can look at my glasses. Alex offers to go grab a few things while I wait, and I tell him sure. So there I am, standing around scrolling on my phone, when I notice this older guy, maybe mid-60s, standing a couple feet away from me. He's in cargo shorts, white sneakers, and one of those faded polo shirts. Retirees seem him to love. He's staring. Not like a casual glance, like full-on locked eyes on me. I did that awkward thing where you make brief eye contact, then look away, assuming it's nothing. But he doesn't stop. A couple seconds later, he turns fully toward me and says, in this super gruff voice, "You should be ashamed of yourself." I'm caught off guard. I say, "Excuse me," thinking maybe he mistook me for someone else, or I bumped him without noticing. He points at my shirt. "That place kills babies, and you're proud enough to advertise it." Now, for context, I grew up in Illinois. I've heard every side of the abortion debate at Thanksgiving, tables at church, on the news, in college dorms. I'm not new to this conversation, but I was absolutely not expecting to get cornered in the optics section of Costco on a Saturday morning over my t-shirt. I just freeze. My brain goes blank. He starts going off. Louder now. "You're supporting murder. You're walking around flaunting it, like you think you're some kind of hero. What happened to women being mothers? What happened to responsibility? That's a human life." People around us are starting to notice. A mom with a cart full of goldfish crackers and Capri Suns pulls her kid closer. An employee stocking contact lens solution kind of glances over, clearly unsure if he should intervene. Meanwhile, I'm standing there with my phone in my hand, heart pounding, not saying a word. In my head, I'm cycling through all the comebacks I could use. I could have pulled out my favorite one. "If you don't like abortions, don't get one." Or I could have hit him with facts about how Planned Parenthood provides cancer screenings STD testing, and prenatal care. Or I could have just flatly told him to leave me the hell alone. But nope. I stood there like a deer in headlights, my face burning, my palms sweaty, wishing Alex would magically reappear. Eventually I fumble and flip my phone camera on, holding it up just enough to maybe catch him. The second I do, he scoffs, mutters something like, "Of course, typical," and walks away, still grumbling about how awful I am. And just like that, it's over. But honestly, the worst part wasn't him yelling at me. It was the aftermath. When Alex came back with his cart and asked if everything was okay, I just brushed it off and said, "Yeah, some guy was being rude. But the whole rest of the day," I replayed it in my head. I started thinking about all the things I wish I had done, pretended I didn't speak English and just started speaking fake Mandarin. I did this once in college to get out of a creepy guy hitting on me, and it worked. Looked him dead in the eye and said, "Sir, I can see your nipples through your shirt." Rolled my eyes, sighed dramatically, and muttered, "Old white man," just loud enough for the crowd to hear, turned to the Costco employee and said, "This man is harassing me." Instead, I did none of those things. I let some random guy project his rage onto me and walked away feeling small. And the more I thought about it, the angrier I got because I wasn't bothering anyone. I wasn't chanting. I wasn't waving signs. I wasn't handing out pamphlets. I was just waiting for my glasses to get fixed. In a t-shirt I've worn dozens of times before, and this stranger decided it was his business to invade my space and make me feel unsafe. I told Alex about it later in the car. He was pissed. Said if he'd been there, he would have stepped in. But then he also admitted he was glad he wasn't, because he probably would have made a scene. Since then, I haven't worn that shirt outside the house, which sucks. It feels like some stranger managed to steal a little piece of my freedom to exist in public the way I want. And maybe that's his whole goal, right? People like him thrive on making others feel too uncomfortable to stand their ground. But here's the thing. I don't think I'm done wearing it. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the next Costco trip, but I don't want one loud retiree with a superiority complex dictating how I live my life. If anything, this made me more stubborn. Still, that day sucked. Update. The Planned Parenthood shirt. Incident? Wow, I didn't expect so many people to resonate with my little Costco horror story. Thank you for the messages, the advice, and honestly just the validation that I wasn't overreacting. Writing it out and then reading people's reactions made me feel a lot less alone. I figured I'd update since a few things have happened since I posted. Telling Alex the full story when it first happened. I downplayed it to Alex because I didn't want to ruin our day or make him feel guilty for leaving me alone in line. After posting here and really thinking it through, I told him every detail. What the guy said, how loud he was, how humiliated I felt, and how I froze Alex's immediate reaction. We're going back to Costco next weekend, and I'm wearing my old Protect Trans Kids hoodie. He was genuinely upset that I didn't tell him the full thing in the moment. He said he doesn't care if he would have made a scene, because no one should get to harass me in public without being called out. He also told me to never feel like I need to protect his feelings by keeping things bottled up, which, fair point. So I guess this incident weirdly sparked a deeper conversation about communication and not brushing off my own experiences just to keep the peace. Friends' reactions. I told my group chat 3 of my college best friends, Jessica, Hannah, and Brandon, about what happened. Their reactions were, Jessica, "I wish I was there, I would have gone nuclear." Hannah sent me 5 TikToks of clapbacks to pro-life protesters. She's officially on board with training me in public confrontation survival skills. Brandon deadpanned, "Next time, just cough really hard and say you're contagious. That'll clear the area faster than a Planned Parenthood shirt." So yeah, I've got a hype team now talking to my mom. This part surprised me. My mom and I don't usually talk politics. She's a moderate Catholic woman in her 60s, and while she's pro-choice, she doesn't wear it on her sleeve. But I told her about the Costco incident and admitted that it shook me enough to stop wearing the shirt outside. She said something that really stuck. "When I was your age, men would harass women for wearing miniskirts. They'd say it was too revealing, too provocative, an invitation. And women started second-guessing their own closets. Don't let anyone take up that kind of space in your head. I didn't expect that kind of solidarity from her, but it hit me hard wearing the shirt again. Okay, so the part everyone probably wants to know. Did I wear the shirt out again? Yes, last weekend, Alex and I went to the farmer's market. I wore the shirt with a hoodie tied around my waist just in case I chickened out. I won't lie, I felt self-conscious the whole time. Every time someone glanced in my direction, I braced myself for a repeat Costco showdown, but nothing happened. Not a single comment, not even a dirty look that I noticed. And then, near the end, this younger woman, probably early 20s, stopped me and quietly said, "I like your shirt. It was such a small thing, but I swear it almost made me cry." After the Costco guy, I felt like the world was full of people who hated me for supporting something I believe in. That one stranger reminded me that I'm not walking around in enemy territory. There are people on my side too. They just don't always scream in the optics section of Costco where I stand now. So here's where I've landed. I'm not going to wear the shirt every time I leave the house, because sometimes I genuinely don't have the energy for potential conflict. But I am going to wear it when I feel like it, because I don't want to live my life shrinking myself to appease strangers. And if another random guy decides to confront me, I'm ready. I've got my comebacks, my fake Mandarin routine, and a boyfriend who's more than willing to back me up. Weirdly enough, this incident gave me more confidence in myself and my support system. That old man in Costco thought he could shame me into silence, but instead, he just gave me a whole arsenal of new comebacks and a story I'll be telling for years. Final update. The Planned Parenthood shirt. Saga. So I wasn't planning to post again, but something happened last night that felt like the perfect bookend to this whole mess. The concert incident. Alex and I went to a small outdoor concert downtown. I decided, kind of on a whim, to wear the Planned Parenthood shirt again. It's been sitting in my drawer for weeks, and I told myself, if I'm ever going to reclaim this shirt, tonight's the night. We're standing in line at the merch table, and sure enough, I feel someone tap me on the shoulder. My stomach dropped. I thought, here we go again. But instead of another angry rant, it was a woman probably in her late 40s, and she smiled and said, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for wearing that. My daughter's in college, and Planned Parenthood has been a lifeline for her." I kind of froze, because it was the exact opposite of the Costco interaction. She wasn't confrontational, she wasn't loud, she just wanted to express gratitude. I think I muttered something awkward like, "Oh, thank you, that means a lot." But inside I was buzzing then. The heckler, of course, because the universe loves balance. 20 minutes later, a guy across the food truck line decided to make some snide comment about baby killers. He wasn't even talking to me directly, just loud enough for me to hear, and for the first time since all this started, I didn't freeze. I turned, looked him straight in the eye and said, "Cool. Man, enjoy your overpriced hot dog." Alex lost it. Laughing, the guy turned red and shut up, and the people in line around us chuckled. It wasn't some cinematic mic drop moment, but it was enough. What I've learned, wearing that shirt out these last few weeks, has been weirdly transformative. I know it sounds silly, but it's become a kind of test of my own backbone. Every time I put it on, I feel a little braver, like I'm claiming space I almost gave up. The Costco guy? He rattled me. He made me question myself and whether it was worth it. But the reality is, one angry stranger doesn't outweigh the quiet nods, the smiles, the whispered, "I like your shirt," or that mom who thanked me. Alex told me later. That shirt basically filters people. Anyone cool will see it, and either not care or respect you more. Anyone awful will out themselves. Honestly, he's right. Final thought. So yeah, I guess I can wear my Planned Parenthood shirt outside again. And if someone has a problem with it, they can take it up with their overpriced hot dog. Stories number 12. My neighbor tried to weaponize town code enforcement against me, so I moved into this house last December. I'll be honest, I thought I hit the jackpot. Quiet neighborhood, cul-de-sac street, decent yard space, and a short commute. I'm in my early 40s, married, with 2 kids, and this felt like a house where we could finally put down roots. The only wrinkle? My backyard neighbor, Linda. I didn't know this at first, but apparently Linda has a reputation in the neighborhood for being that person. The type who knows town hall staff by first name, because she's always filing complaints. The type who memorizes property lines down to the inch and thinks HOA president is an actual elected government position. I brushed off the warnings. I figured, hey, maybe she's misunderstood. Maybe people just don't like that she's detail-oriented. Oh boy, the $10,000 drywell saga. By early spring, Linda cornered me by the fence. No, welcome to the neighborhood. No small talk, just straight into, you're going to need to put in a dry well to keep the rainwater off my property. It's flooding my yard, mind you. My yard is slightly higher than hers. It has been for 60+ years. Every single house on our block is like this. It rains, the water drains, life goes on. I politely told her, yeah, that's not really something I'm responsible for. The house has been like this forever. She pressed harder, throwing out numbers like it was a contractor's estimate. It'll cost you about $10,000, but it's worth it. You need to do it. I laughed nervously and said, I'm not paying for that, but if you'd like to have one built, you're welcome to do so on your property. The look she gave me could have curdled milk. She stormed off like I had just spit on her lawn ornaments code. Enforcement. Round 1. Fast forward a few weeks. We're having some friends over for a casual Saturday hangout. Food, drinks, kids running around, nothing crazy. And who shows up in my driveway? Code enforcement. Apparently Linda called in a complaint about, wait for it, a floodlight on my garage that was missing. A cover. The officer, Mark, was actually really nice. He kind of rolled his eyes and said, don't stress. She calls us constantly. Just replace the cover, you won't get fined. Embarrassing? Yes. Maddening? Also yes. But whatever, I fixed the light. A week later, Mark came back for re-inspection, gave me a thumbs up, and the case was closed. Code enforcement. Round 2. Father's Day rolls around. We throw a surprise 80th birthday party for my father-in-law, George, sweetest man alive. We set up in the backyard, had some food, balloons, and music playing from a single Sonos speaker. Nothing more than background noise. The following Friday, my phone rings. It's Mark. Hey, just a heads up. Linda filed a noise complaint about your Father's Day party. Nothing's happening, but if you ever do throw something bigger, consider getting a permit. Saves a lot of trouble, so now I've had 2 complaints in 2 months. Linda is officially on my radar. The pettiest revenge. Mid-July, I'm out in my yard pulling weeds when I overhear Linda on her deck, on the phone. She's inviting people to her barbecue. She even says the date and time. I stood there, sweaty gloves and all, and the most diabolical idea popped into my head. The following Monday, I marched into town hall. I filled out a permit request for a backyard gathering, scheduled for the exact same day and time as Linda's barbecue, approved without question. When the big day arrived, I prepped my secret weapon, old Greek chanting music from the early 1900s. My grandparents used to blast this stuff when I was a kid, and it was absolute torture. Think monotone droning that sounds like it's echoing from inside a cavern. As Linda's guests began arriving, I set up my speaker facing the yard, cranked the volume, and let the monks do their thing. Linda loses it. Within 5 minutes, I hear frantic pounding on my front door. The Ring camera catches Linda, red-faced, slamming the bell and shouting my name. I wasn't even home. I had already whisked my wife, Rachel, and our neighbors Tom and Kelly out for drinks. We sat at a bar, laughing, sipping margaritas, while my phone buzzed with notifications from the Ring camera. Linda was full-on melting down in my driveway, demanding I turn it off immediately because her guests couldn't hear themselves talk. The best part? Her tantrum is now immortalized in glorious HD code enforcement. Round 3, sure enough. The following Monday, Linda filed another complaint. Mark himself handled it. I saw his name pop up on my caller ID and braced myself. But when I picked up, he was practically chuckling. She's furious. But since you had a permit, you're in the clear. I told her there's nothing we can do. That, my friends, was the sweet taste of vindication. So yeah. My neighbor tried to weaponize town code enforcement against me, and I weaponized pettiness right back. Greek monks, BBQ, country music. And let me tell you, the neighborhood still talks about Linda's meltdown. After Linda's epic meltdown, things in the neighborhood were tense, but in a very satisfying way. I kept the peace for a few weeks. letting her stew while quietly enjoying the fact that I had a legal permit in my pocket for any future backyard antics. Rachel and I started noticing subtle changes. Tom and Kelly, our immediate neighbors, had been quietly supportive before, but after seeing the ring footage of Linda's tantrum, they began joking openly about it. One afternoon, Kelly waved at me and said, "Greek chanting, huh?" Bold move. I didn't think anyone could out-petty Linda. Even our other neighbors started giving me smirks when I worked in the yard. Word traveled fast. Apparently, Linda had told a few neighbors about the unbearable noise from my property, and everyone had quietly laughed about it behind her back. The follow-up call from Town Hall. About a month later, Mark from Code Enforcement called me again. I braced myself for another complaint, but instead he laughed. "Hey, just checking in. I hear Greek monks are the new neighborhood soundtrack. All good here. No calls from Linda in weeks, so you might have finally tamed her." I thanked him and hung up, realizing that the long game of petty revenge had worked. Linda hadn't filed a single new complaint since I imagined she realized that weaponizing Code Enforcement only backfired. Spectacularly a peaceful backyard at last. I went back to my yard, installed some subtle outdoor lighting, and started hosting small barbecues again. But this time with classic rock, no chanting, no epic revenge. Yet the kids played, Rachel grilled, and Tom and Kelly joined in occasionally. The neighborhood started to feel like home in a way it hadn't before, as if the Greek chanting incident had somehow solidified our territory. Linda's retreat. I didn't see Linda in the weeks after her tantrum. A few days ago, she finally waved at me across the street while walking her dog. No shouting, no complaints, just a stiff wave. It was clear she had conceded. At least socially, I waved back politely and went about my business. I've since made a rule in my head. Never underestimate the power of a legal permit and a little harmless pettiness. It's been months, and the neighborhood has settled into a surprisingly quiet, neighborly rhythm. I even caught myself laughing about it while watering the garden yesterday. Takeaways. Town Code Enforcement exists for a reason, but some people try to weaponize it out of sheer malice. Keeping calm, documenting everything, and using the rules to your advantage can be extremely satisfying. Greek chanting may or may not become a new holiday tradition for me. Linda may still be around, and she may still grumble when she thinks no one is looking, but the backyard battlefield has been won. Peace and volume-controlled parties are finally restored. Stories number 13. ITA for telling my aunt to ask a server instead of my brother at my cousin's engagement party. Last weekend I went to my cousin's engagement party and ended up in an argument that has now divided my entire family. The setup was simple enough. The event was at a banquet hall. Everyone was dressed up, and things were going smoothly until dinner was served. I was sitting at a table with my younger brother, my aunt, and a few cousins. When the food came out, my aunt asked my brother to make her a plate, because she didn't want to stand in the buffet line in her heels. My brother shrugged and said he was going to get his own food first. She snapped at him, saying he was being disrespectful and ungrateful since she always does things for us. At that point, I stepped in and told my aunt that it wasn't a big deal, and she could just ask one of the servers since that's what most of the older guests were doing anyway. She got offended and raised her voice, saying that I was embarrassing her and making her look needy in front of everyone. I tried to de-escalate, but she wouldn't let it go. My cousin, the one who was getting engaged, came over to calm her mom down, but by then people were staring and whispering. Later that night, my mom told me that I should have just made the plate for my aunt myself instead of speaking up, because it wasn't worth the scene. I argued back that I wasn't being rude, I was just suggesting a more practical option, and that my brother had the right to say no. Now my aunt is telling people that I disrespected her publicly, and my mom thinks I could have avoided all of this by staying quiet. My brother feels guilty, and my cousin texted me saying she was embarrassed. The drama happened at her engagement. I genuinely didn't think I said anything wrong, but now I'm wondering if I should have just kept my mouth shut. Was I wrong to step in, or was my aunt out of line for blowing things out of proportion? Stories number 14. Partner M35 has not spoken to me F31 for 7 days. We live together, my partner together 25 years, living together 6 months, and I have a generally amazing relationship. We laugh constantly, have a great sex life, share hobbies, trips, and our dog, and I genuinely see him as my future. Over the past few months, we've had a few arguments. They usually stem from me expressing self-doubt or anxiety, which he says is frustrating or negative. He's never been abusive before, but his way of coping seems to be withdrawing completely. I have never been told I'm negative before in my life, and I'm a fairly confident person, and I do like myself. I think I'm great. But like any human from time to time, I have self-doubt and express frustration to get it off my chest. Background on previous arguments. Argument 1. I didn't ask him to drive me when I was hungover because I didn't want to disrupt his work. He said my people-pleasing is a problem and didn't speak to me for 4 hours. Argument 2. While playing a sport we both do, I expressed frustration about not being very good. He got very upset, saying my negative feelings affect him, and that he wasn't sure he wanted to be with me. After that, he ignored me for 2 days. Current conflict. Last weekend at a festival, I jokingly asked if he hated a hairstyle I got. He said it was awful to ask, and again criticized my self-esteem. That night he left me for a bit, and the next day didn't speak to me. On Monday I texted him at work to check in, and he replied, with long texts saying he wasn't sure about the relationship. After I tried to talk when I got home, we got into a huge argument. After trying to explain my side, he wasn't listening at all, and sat on his phone for the entirety of the conversation. I removed the phone from his hand, not violently, and said, "Please, will you listen to me?" He told me to pack a bag and leave, threw my keys, slammed doors, and said some very hurtful things. I've never seen him act like this before. It's now 7 days later, and he's still mostly silent with me. Some examples: sleeping in the spare room, not accepting the meals I make him, not opening my texts but active in our group chat, still taking care of our dog, and occasionally doing kind things like buying food or making coffee for us, still has all our photos, cards, and mementos around the house. I'm completely anxious and feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I don't want to push him while he's in this headspace, but I also feel stuck because I don't know whether he's done with the relationship or just needs time. The mixed signals, still caring in some ways, but not talking at all, are incredibly painful. I'm worried that if I give him space, he might drift further away, but I also don't want to escalate things by pushing for answers. I can't move out right now to give him more space due to our dog and other practical reasons. Ailes, this is my home too. I think this is an avoidant, anxious clash. How do I navigate this situation?